Hello and welcome to my channel, Stitches with Love. My name is Elizabeth and today I'm going to show you what is in my knitting box. This is a very special box. It's very old, it's very well loved, and it's where I keep all of the things that keep my knitting adventures possible. So if you're interested, grab a cup of something cozy if you'd like, and you're knitting, and we're gonna go ahead and get started. All right, so this is a very old, very well-loved sewing box. I don't know how old exactly it is. If I had to guess, it's probably close to 75, 80 years old at least. There's a piece missing back here. There was at one time a strip of wood that somehow got broken off. And I just haven't been able to mend it. And then, I don't know if you can see, but here in the front of this beautiful box, right here, is a keyhole. I was never given a key when I was given the box. I don't know if there is even a key that I could have made for it. I don't know, but I'm really not worried about keeping this locked and secure, especially since I get into it at least a couple of times a week, probably. I have no idea what kind of wood this is, but it was given to me by my great aunt, Amy Rose Shuey, and I think of her every time I open up this box. She was such a lovely lady. She's no longer with us. But inside, and I don't remember, I'm pretty certain she was also a knitter. Although I don't know, I'd have to ask family if that's the case. I'd be really surprised if she wasn't. Her mother, my great-grandmother, was a very avid knitter, and so she knit all of her socks, all of the things the family would have needed. Very much your traditional stereotypical grandmotherly type, but back then it was very much done out of necessity and not so much as this is a hobby. So in here is where I keep all of my knitting needles, all of my notions, the tools, all of the things that I would possibly need. All of my patterns are kept elsewhere, and I'm not going to show you all of that today, but I was thinking it'd be really fun to take a little tour of my sewing box and show you where things are kept. So first thing, obviously I need, my camera is so weird because I'm not really in the picture. Is that better? Okay. I don't have a professional sort of setup, and so things are just the way they are. I'm sorry. Obviously, I couldn't knit without any of my knitting needles, so I have one pouch where I keep all of my circular knitting needles. I do prefer the fixed variety of knitting needles to interchangeable, just because I don't really like changing out the needles, although I do have my eyes on a really nice interchangeable stainless steel set. So I'm sure at some point I will acquire a set of interchangeable needles, but I'm happy with the fixed version. And I'll do a video on the types of knitting needles that I have and that I use, what I prefer and for what, but not today. So I've got one pouch that's designated for my circular needles. I have one pouch that is designated for all of my extra notions. So I have tape measures. I have a little notebook in here to keep notes for my patterns. I think I have some extra scissors in here. I'm not sure, maybe not. Those might be elsewhere. I have a little pouch with small things that get lost easily. So this is where I have all of my stitch markers, progress keepers, the really tiny stuff, so that it doesn't go scattering all over my box. I have, not in a pouch, but in a very cute little dinosaur tin that I picked up at the Dollar Tree, where I keep all of my double-pointed needles. This is the perfect size because since it's actually intended for the use of pencils, they're just long enough to keep long double-pointed needles. And it just doesn't take up any space at all. It sits right here in my box quite perfectly. This is an empty tin. Oh, that feels like it's got something in it, actually. Hang on. Oh, it's my stickers. These are stickers from my yarn orders and project bag orders that come in through Etsy. I just needed a place to put them. I guess there is something in there. What else do I have in here? I'm going to run out of room real quick. This is a little tin of some healing balm that I had. I just recently used it up, so I washed out the tin. And this is where I am currently keeping my fun holiday and seasonal stitch markers. That's what I would be using for my seasonal and holiday projects, for my socks of the month, to coordinate with my project bag and yarn, for no other reason than I like a little whimsy, and I like to keep things fun and interesting when I'm knitting. I no longer have the blocking mats that go with my blocking pins, but I kept the pins because I can still use them on my corkboard. I could lay down some cardboard and use that like a blocking mat. At this time, I see no reason to replace my mats because there just really isn't a reason. I can lay it out on my bed, on my table. I could lay it down on my floor to block and shape. So I kept the pins. Probably won't replace the mats. This was, there's a story behind this very sad little shawl. So, this was the shawl that I made to wear at my brother's wedding reception. These were their wedding colors. It was really beautiful when I made it. And I don't really remember how or what happened, but this went through the laundry and it felted. And so I absolutely could wear it and keep my neck warm. I just don't. So one year for Christmas, I made this little heart shape and I started making little heart ornaments to give as Christmas gifts. So because it's felted, the stitches aren't going to unravel and everybody gets a little memento from my brother's wedding. I have thought about re-knitting this, getting the yarn and doing it again, but I don't know if I really want to do that. This was a Suki shawl, and it was really beautiful. And if I ever come across any of his wedding pictures where I'm wearing this at the reception, I will share them with you. Let's see. What is this pouch? Oh, this is just extra notions. So I like having a couple of little notion bags already filled with what I'm going to need so that if I'm going to be going somewhere, I can just grab a little notions bag, put it in my bag, and I will have a tape measure. I will have scissors. There's a pen in here to take notes. I will have already stitch markers. Just the very basic things I would need kept with a project that I'm working on if I'm on the go somewhere. Then I'm not going through all of my other stuff trying to find what I need. It's already put together in a bag. So that's all of the most important tools. This is a chart keeper. I bought this several years ago off of Knit Picks. You can get other styles either through Knit Picks or elsewhere online. You can find them on Etsy. And you just put your chart here. You hold it down with the magnets. This also helps you keep track of which row you're on. I've used this several times. It's very helpful. I don't use it often because I don't do a lot of patterns that require chart work, but it is really helpful to have. So that just lives in here with all of my other tools. And then I need some coffee. On each side, these little boxes actually come out, and there is more storage down below. I'm currently re-knitting my first pair of socks, but this is where I keep them, just so they don't get lost or damaged or whatever. I keep my first pair of socks in here. I also keep my first pair of knitting needles. This is what I learned to knit on. They are nothing more than some stray double-pointed needles that my mother had. I think they probably came from my great-grandmother, actually, because that's where we got a lot of our knitting things. So it's just 2 double-pointed needles with these little rubber tips that are actually intended to keep your stitches from falling off the needles. But this is what I used to learn to knit, was just these needles. So I keep these in here. The box did come with a few little notions and things. I think this was one of the things that came with it. I have no idea what this is. It's some kind of crochet hook. I think this is what's used when you're doing, is it Tunisian crochet? I don't remember. I don't ever use it. I just keep it in here for novelty's sake, I guess. And then I have, these are very special sock knitting needles. They are well loved and well worn. These are my great-grandmother's. And actually they might have been used by Aunt Amy. I'm not sure. I've always thought of them as being my great-grandmother's. They belong to somebody very elderly and very special who was a very avid knitter. But these are old sock needles that I still use. I keep them in here so they don't get lost or damaged, because they're very special. They're very old. These are heavy. I think maybe they're made of some kind of stainless steel. I don't really know, but they're heavy and they're sturdy. And I have knit many, many, many pairs of socks with these needles. Put those back in there. And it just makes me feel more connected to the older women in my family who were knitting generations before I ever came on the scene. I don't know, there's just something special about that. It's like we share a history. You know, they knitted for their families. I knit for my family, and now I'm using their needles. And anyway, I just like stuff like that. Then on the other side, I have some extra safety pins. I have, these are all of my crochet hooks. I got rid of most of them because I don't crochet very much anymore. But it's nice to have a few on hand if I need to pick up stitches, or if I get some really weird hankering to crochet something, which is, I think about once every 5 years, I think about picking up a crochet hook again. I actually learned how to do that before I learned how to do knitting, and I crocheted for years, and then found that I really prefer knitting. So I've got all my hooks in here, a couple of pencils to take notes. I've got some of these in different sizes to hold stitches when I'm making sweaters. Those are really handy. Most of the time now I just use a piece of scrap yarn and it works just as well. It's a lot more flexible. But I do like having these simply because they're kind of old school and I love doing things old school. And then, ooh, I found a needle. I've got a spare Runaway double pointed needle. These are actually not my favorite needles. I don't really like them all that much, but I keep them around just in case I get desperate. And I need them. Let me put that away. Hang on. This yarn, which I'm sure is either acrylic, maybe wool, came with the sewing box, and it still has a little bit of a chain done. Somebody was going to crochet something. I just leave it all together because it's just kind of fun to have that little bit of family history in here and wonder, what was she going to make with this? I think that's all that's in here. And then I have this little bit of string. I have no idea what this is. But again, it came with the box, and it's just kind of fun to look at it and wonder what was going to be used for it. So I keep all of that in there. And then every couple of months, probably, I come in and I organize and I tidy everything because it gets really messy and unorganized, and I don't really stay on top of things very well. And so it does require attention every once in a while just to make sure that my tools are ready when I need them and everything is kept in one place. So that is my well-loved, very old, very special sewing box where I keep all of my knitting tools. And I'm kind of curious, what do you all do with your knitting things? Do you keep them in a box? Do you keep them in a basket? Are they strewn about your house? I find knitting stuff all over my house all the time. So if you want to share with me how you organize all of your knitting notions, I would love to hear from you. Drop me a comment. And if you have any questions, as always, about how I do things with my knitting adventures, I'd love to hear from you. Send me a comment and I will answer. I'm going to go finish my coffee. I'm going to put this away, and then I might have a little bit of a knit before I head into work, which is going to be very soon. So have a wonderful Tuesday, and we'll see you in the next episode. Bye.